He is the President Chief Executive Officer of the Calgary Flames. It's been a while since we had a chance to talk to our friend Ken King, and he is on the telephone. Mr. King, how are you?
I haven't talked to you guys for a year and a half.
Yeah, where the hell you been?
Hey, just got head down, butt up, working.
Yeah.
Building a Cracker Jack hockey team, I see.
Yeah.
How about that, huh?
Oh, you got all the Alberta teams. Well, I guess you haven't clinched yet, but you're going to clinch.
We have a date with Uncle Daryl tonight.
Yeah, get that done, and then 2 Alberta teams in the playoffs, and that's all right again, isn't it?
If there was a God in heaven, he would put us against the other Alberta team, and that's all we could have.
Wow, that would be fun.
Imagine you could have both Alberta teams and maybe both Ontario teams. Maybe we could do a little crossover tournament at some. How imagine that? Eh?
That would be cool.
No, so I don't want to dwell on this, but since this sort of topic came up here, well, it didn't really, but in a roundabout way.
Doesn't matter.
So here's an idea that I have had, Mr. King, is that it bothers me that, for example, the Oilers can never play the Flames in the Stanley Cup final. The Leafs can never play the Canadiens in the Stanley Cup final. The Rangers can't play the Islanders. Anaheim can't play L.A. So obvious geographic or natural rivalries, if you will, that are nurtured through 82 games of a regular season can never culminate in that ultimate championship. And so one of the things I've said is, why doesn't the NHL have some sort of crossover at some point during the playoffs? Give me your take on that idea.
Well, so crossover is different than 1 against 16, right?
Yeah, I'm like maybe at the semifinal you reseed it 1 through 4.
I think that's not without merit. The truth is, if a Stanley Cup final was taking place between Montreal and Toronto or Calgary and Edmonton, I'm not sure that's the best thing in the whole wide world. That's goes back to being pretty regional again. And while we may love it, and everybody within 100 miles of Hanley, Saskatchewan may like it, I'm not so sure that that's open to the world any more than Anaheim and L.A. Being in the finals. So I'm not quite sure I'm with you on that, but a crossover is an interesting concept. I mean, we do it in the CFL, obviously, but hardly the same thing.
Now, this isn't what we called to talk to you about, but I mean, in last year there were 0 teams in the Canadian teams in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and this year you may have 4 or 5. Is there a collegial feeling among the Canadian teams?
Collegial in the sense that, as you know, I've said this I think before, the NHL league meetings are the Geneva Convention. We write the rules of war, then we go out and we try to screw each other
right.
as significantly as we possibly can. So, yeah, I think there's some collegiality there right up until we drop the puck and have anything to do with each other. In the old days, we used to hate helping each other because if I taught Edmonton how to make more money, and I don't think anybody can make more money than Edmonton these days, they would buy bullets and shoot them back at us and take away our good players and everybody else's. So sure there is. I think there is a romantic collegiality, Damien. But we largely hate each other at the end of the day.
So you're saying if the Flames and the Oilers meet in the playoffs, it won't be all friendly and hugs and stuff. It'll be the same old nasty. Imagine that.
The most significant rivalry. People may be hurt, and I'm not talking about hockey players. I'm talking about the fans. This is getting intense again, and it's great.
Well, and see, with respect, that's why I disagree with your assessment that it might not be good for the entire league, because any hockey fan that wouldn't want to watch Leafs, Canadians, Flames, Oilers in a Stanley Cup final ain't a hockey fan.
Yeah, you know what? I think so, but that's a little parochial, isn't it? We're talking us people up here versus all those people in that.
Who cares about them? First of all, I don't care about them. And second of all, what I want is the 2 best teams to play. Yeah. And this kind of system, at least theoretically, allows that to happen. And you know yourself, there very rarely is a year where you have balance between the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference. Forget in hockey, in any sport.
Oh, that's true. By the way, we always think it's more difficult here than in the East, right?
Well, it has been for a long time.
Maybe not anymore.
In there, beds, kissing their children and their wives when they get up and go to work, and us poor traveling
hang on.
From
where's the violin music?
Yeah, hang on. We can get that on. Yeah, bring some in.
So if you do play the Oilers in the series, it would be a great series this year, but except that you go up to their nice, shiny new arena, and you don't have a nice, shiny arena to match. And that brings us to the topic at hand, which is what the mayor had to say, the mayor of Calgary yesterday, saying your new Calgary Next is dead. You disagree, I understand.
Better than a doornail. As one of your colleagues said to me, it's like a Monty Python deal. Is your parrot dead? It's resting.
It's just resting.
The fact is, he did say that, and I have had a call from their office subsequently that they weren't apologizing or changing their view on that. He's been pretty vocal on that point, but he does not make that determination unilaterally. That's not his decision to make. He and his council members do. The agreement we have, and it's a formal agreement, is that it's on pause while we entertain their proposal for a Victoria Park, which is right here, by the way, you guys. Right beside. If you guys remember the last time you went to the Stampede, if your memories aren't fogged by alcohol, it's about 300 yards from where we are right now.
I know where it is.
I wasn't being sarcastic. I was trying to be funny. I'll stop that. They want us to look at this, pause Calgary Next, and we were council directed to compare the two, and ultimately I think they'll be compared anyway. And we said, fine, we'll do that, but we told you what we wanted and what we think is great. Now you tell us what you want and why you think it's great, and perhaps what incentives you might provide for us to make a decision that way, because we still feel strongly that Calgary Next answers a football stadium, it answers a field house, it answers an event center, and is a legacy, a really kind of Edmonton-sized legacy project, because the Edmonton project is magnificent. I hate to say it, but I will. And by the way, playing Edmonton in the playoffs would simply be a showcase for both buildings, and I'm good with that.
Give me your take on why the mayor or the political figures are promoting a different site. There usually is a tangible reason for that.
Yeah, I think they accomplish more of their vision, which is, by the way, not a bad vision. I mean, there's lots of ways to be right. I think they accomplish more of their vision. It actually is a great boon to the Stampede. Which is one of our iconics. It would be the fulcrum or the centerpiece for the redevelopment of this Victoria Park area, which currently is basically surface parking lots and some undeveloped land waiting for something like this to happen. So and they have a CRL in this area, Community Revitalization Levy, and it's alive and kicking right now. So they have infrastructure money, they've got a vision. All of those things, they just much prefer it, and we get that. So if you prefer it, why don't you help us understand why we should prefer it? And that would be helpful if you didn't try and kill our parrot on our other shoulder.
Well, okay. So why do you prefer the Calgary Next concept?
Because it answers a myriad of questions. It cleans the area up. Our ownership wants to leave a legacy here. They want to do something special and something valuable and something important. They don't want to just build another building. Mm-hmm. In fact, we aren't doing it. These buildings, these facilities, you know what's going on in Detroit, you know what's going on in Edmonton, Los Angeles. I mean, these are the most transformative things for cities, period. There isn't anything that is activating cities' redevelopment and revitalization and economies than sports venues. It's fantastic. We're finally making a huge difference instead of just building acres of parking and plopping an arena or a stadium down someplace. So our guys really wanted to make a statement here and leave something special. And to that end, we're participating more in an unprecedented manner than anyone has ever done with private money in a public facility. That's why we like it, and we just had this long list of things that we thought were good. Okay, good for us. Thanks, guys. We know what you want. We know why you want it, but we think we have perhaps more money. We have more impetus. We might get more public support. And remember, political will is pretty much determined by public will. And the dumb question is, taxpayers' money for hockey players. That's not even the right question. This is, do you want a gathering place in your city? Every city in North America has them, with or without sports teams. The fortunate ones, unlike Quebec, say, or Seattle or other places like that, don't have sports teams, but they sure as heck either have or are getting magnificent new facilities. So if you're really lucky, you build a facility for your city, for your citizens. And if you're really fortunate, you have a professional sports team to be an anchor tenant. And so I think they see it as more palatable in that regard. And I believe this, by the way. I think we'll get a deal. I'm not 100% sure, but I think we will. And I think people in the city will just love it. I don't think there's going to be any anxiety over it at all. And I think the politicians should try and look at it that way.
So just so we understand,
old tech.
Yeah, let me make sure we understand. So there's a difference in sites, but the site that they prefer wouldn't allow you to build all the things as part of a much larger complex.
Correct.
Would it just be a hockey arena?
Yeah, it would just be an event center, and it would orphan McMahon Stadium, literally orphan it. They're talking about a very modest renovation. And
what do you mean it would orphan McMahon Stadium?
So yes, it would be roughly a third of the order of magnitude of what we were talking about.
Okay, so when you say orphan McMahon Stadium, you mean it would separate it from the rest of the? What do you mean?
It would stay where it is. We would continue to play in there, perhaps until such time as you couldn't play in there. You want to see a football stadium in the CFL, you should go to Regina. Holy mackerel! That may be the only reason to go to Regina, but
he slags Edmonton. He slags Regina.
What they've done, beautiful, beautiful facility. So McMahon, built in 1960, would continue to be the home of one of the best CFL teams in the league, and there's no answer to that. Nobody's got an answer to how we would deal with that, other than us.
All right, so let me try and broker a deal here, at least between us.
Sure.
Is it feasible, since I am not intimately familiar with the real estate in and around the Calgary area, is there a deal here if the city insisted on the site, the Stampede site, for lack of a better definition? Could you do all the things that you have proposed at Calgary Next on that site?
No.
Not enough land?
There's not enough land, and the density and the land uses and the transportation, it just doesn't work.
Okay.
Unfortunately. And fair question, fair observation, but no, it doesn't work.
Is part of the issue here in your mind at all, King, that the National Hockey League is wildly successful, while, with all due respect, the Canadian Football League doesn't carry the same cachet, and therefore it's more difficult to drum up political support for something that will help the Canadian Football League?
Yeah, I would agree with that, Damien, up to the following. Regina, Winnipeg, Hamilton, and Ottawa all have new football stadiums,
right?
All publicly funded, all shiny and new, and all very, very impressive. So I think there's, and Edmonton and Vancouver have wonderful facilities. So I would have agreed with you, but for some reason here, there's just no appetite, and really not very many people actually care whether or not there was a new football stadium or not. So part of your answer to your question is but part is, look, there's $1 billion worth of new CFL infrastructure just been put in place in the last 3 years.
So at what point, Mr. King, can we expect you to commence your Kates-like tour, whereupon you court the favor of other markets because you're threatening to move your team?
So that's funny because, frankly, I think we're being baited into that. I think
by us, or
I said it was Kates-like, didn't I? Did he or did he not go on tour and start saber rattling about? Well, you better build me the damn thing, or I'm going to move the Oilers.
Like you could see Ken King could just show up one day in Quebec City, admiring their new arena. Gee, that is nice.
Isn't that nice?
I just have to go look and see the design, perhaps.
Yeah, you can find an excuse.
So that's interesting. I think that's what people think is a logical step. Regrettably, and I told a group this morning, our ownership group, who are wonderful people, are not going to have their reputations tarnished. They're not going to be ridiculed here. Not that Mr. Cates did. He was successful.
Well, that's my point.
There would be no threat to move. We would just move. And it would be over. And I am trying my level best to make sure that day never comes, frankly.
Let's not forget the Flames did move once.
Yeah, they did.
Well, from Atlanta.
And who in their right mind would say, are you kidding? Calgary, Alberta, without an NHL team just doesn't make any sense. If people smarter than us in more powerful positions than ours don't feel that we're a critical piece of the social, economic, and cultural part of our city, then who are we to argue with that?
Before we let you go, we've spent a fair bit of time talking about Vegas, and I don't want to dwell on it in any way, shape, or form. But the fact that we have you on, it occurs to me that Calgary, I believe geographically, is the closest Canadian city to Las Vegas. And I do know that a significant number of Calgarians venture south to Nevada for, vacation time now and again.
That is absolutely true.
What do you think the impact of this Vegas hockey team might be? Do you think that hockey fans will plan trips to Vegas around the hockey schedule there?
I think in non-hockey markets, or non-NHL markets,
yeah.
maybe Saskatoon or Regina and places like that, I think that's conceivable. I think they plan visits to Calgary and Edmonton for the same purpose. But why someone would leave a city like Calgary or Edmonton where they can go to 41 or more hockey games, any professional hockey games, and go down there to see a hockey game, I don't get it.
Because it's warmer?
Will they watch one while they're there anyway, having fun?
Well, I think that's more the idea. The concept is, maybe. If we go for 3 or 4 days, which is the average stay in Vegas, you get to do all the other things that you can't really do everywhere else. See all the other things
and
that
you get to see the
see.
Flames beat up on some hapless expansion team.
And on Friday night or Sunday night or whenever they play, you walk over to the arena. It's right behind Aria. It's close. And watch a hockey game.
We had an East Coast affiliate there, the Wranglers, who our current coach coached for, actually. So we saw them down there, and I remember them saying the support has to come from the locals, not the tourists, not the casinos.
Agreed.
A dealer in Las Vegas makes about $100,000 a year on average.
Yeah.
And they need to do something besides deal and gamble, I guess.
Not really.
So are they going to be the people that buy season tickets? Are they going to be the people that are regulars? I hope so, because you better have them. If you're trying to build a team purely based on tourism driven, I don't like your chances. You better have a big local.
I agree.
So we started this conversation talking hockey. Let's end it talking hockey. Your general manager, Brad Treliving, who Bob and I happen to believe has done a terrific job with this hockey team.
We're not alone in that.
But you have not yet given him a new contract. Where are you?
What the hell?
Where are you guys on that?
We have always. It's been our pattern. I think if you research it, you'd find it. We deal with those things in due course. We never deal with them predicated on you're not getting one because we're not sure about you, or you are getting one because we are sure about you. We deal with them when we deal with them. And to read anything more into it than that would be a grave mistake, which neither of you would be capable of making.
Any idea what that answer meant?
He's sucking up to us. No, he just said we haven't done it.
I think what he said was none of your business.
None of your business, and we'll do it when we're damn well ready.
I think that's it.
Nicer than that. Come on, you guys, give me a break.
Well, it's what you said, Ken.
Our custom is to deal with these things when we're done our daily business here, and that'll be done when we're done our playoffs.
Anybody ever walk away from you because you were waiting to do your business?
Nope.
Ooh, that's a dangerous thing, though, don't you think? Nope. Okay.
Because here's a secret for you. If we thought they were going to do that, we might change our program.
Well, yeah, okay.
He's a wise man, that Ken King.
We're all comfortable here, including Brad, and under threat of your inquisition or sodium pentothal, I think you'll find that we're all very comfortable with where we are.
Well, I have never been compared to sodium pentothal before. I think I'm flattered, but
you are truth seekers. Come on, guys. That's what you do for
what else we try and do?
Truth seekers. We've never been called that before.
There's a whole lot of firsts in this conversation. Mr. King, we love having you on. We're not going to wait as long next time to call you.
I love talking to you. Thank you.
Do something, and then we'll call you.
Build something.
Right. Okay.
Thanks, Ken.
Bye-bye.
Ken King, President, CEO of the Calgary Flames.